David Edward and Gloria Coppola discuss Gloria's upcoming book, Too Many Goodbyes.
Gloria, how are you?
I'm fabulous, Dave. How about you?
I'm doing really well. It's raining where I am. What's it doing where you are?
We got sunshine and a bit of overcast, but it's a good day anyway.
That's good. Yeah, we needed the rain, so I can't really complain about it. So it's all good.
Same
Hopefully we
here.
don't hear it on our recording here. So Gloria, you have transitioned from writing historical books and nonfiction books, let's call them, to having written a fiction book. So this is your first fiction book. Is that right?
Correct. And I've not written historical, just to be clear on that. I've written nonfiction, and I was doing journalistic writing for like decades. So yes, this is my first fiction book, which is a whole new journey in of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to make a joke. See, okay, I have such bad humor. My joke was going to be, well, if you were a journalist, you've been writing fiction for years. But that's not funny, so I won't even say it.
Well, not that kind of journalist.
Okay,
Okay.
I
I actually used to interview people about what they did in their life and publish them in like different types of holistic magazines.
Okay, all right, excellent. Well, so let's get down to it. What's the book called, by the way?
It's called Too Many Goodbyes.
Too Many Goodbyes. And do you want to give us a quick summary of it, and then we'll kind of delve into what it took to write it?
Well, it's a fictional book based actually on a lot of my own personal and spiritual journey in life, and because of not only losses and grief, of people dying, but also the sense of self. And I can't give it all away, okay?
No. Of course not.
but it's been a journey to write it, and especially to reflect upon the parts of my life that are in there and go, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like, wow, we got through it all.
Yeah. What kind of story is it? Just generally, what is a person? What are they going to feel as they read it? I guess would be one question.
Okay.
Just generally, what's it about?
Sure. Well, it's considered a fiction kind of contemporary saga, a woman's saga, although men are relating to it as well. And it begins out when the young lady is 17 years old and decides she's feisty. She's from New York. She wants to break all the rules, and she decides to go to Italy. And this was back in a day and age where there was no internet. So, she had tenacity. And when she gets to Italy, she's on a train, and there's all these Italians on the little cart that she's in with the cabin overnight. And she doesn't speak Italian, but there's this young gentleman, much older than her. Well, not much, but at the time it felt that way, right? But when I was getting off the train, or the character was getting off the train, this part is true. It's true. Throwing our luggage off, and he winds up coming up behind me, and he's talking to me in Italian, and I don't know what he's saying. And some lady says, he's proposing to you. And I went, ah! Ciao. So that's kind of where it opens up, and reflecting on, do we make bad decisions? Do we regret things? Do we wonder if our soulmate passed our life and we missed the opportunity? So Lexi goes on a journey.
Yep.
And, constantly question things in life. She's very intuitive. And then you'll have to see where she winds up later on when she hits about 70.
Okay. Well, okay. So see, now that's I like the theme. I like that theme. I like books that they can be in a genre, whatever it is, but then there's also some theme. I don't know what the right, writing word is, but that's what I call it, a theme. I always say, okay, that's what happens, but what's the book about?
Right.
And that's what you kind of answer. So that's interesting. So was the process different in preparing and then starting a fictional book? I know this is based on maybe, I don't say memoirs, but based on experiences you're familiar with. But was the process different?
The process was actually fun, okay, because I do coach people with their stories, and I show them how to organize storyboards, and I'm a life coach by trade. So what I do is I inspire and motivate, and I had to do that for myself through the process. What became challenging later on, because all these characters were talking in my head, and I know you can relate because you've done fiction, I was starting to say, oh, this one's talking here, and they're taking me down this plot twist. But what was the hardest part for me was choosing the right editor for a fiction book.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly. Well, so let me ask you this question. You mentioned, and I'm just curious because you mentioned, like, I have character, these voices in my head. People ask me, are you any of the characters in your books? And I would say, I'm all of them, and I'm none of them.
Exactly.
And it's a weird way to do it. And like I have the main character. It's not me by any stretch of the imagination, but it's based on experiences that I had, and the whole world is the bad guys are the good guys, the people they meet, what they talk about. So emotionally, did you find? Well, how long before I ask that question? How long did it take you, kind of from start to finish, to write the book?
About a year, I would say, although I have 40 years of journals, so we should take that into consideration.
Right. Sure. Of course.
Okay. So about a year of focus, really focusing on it. And the last 6 months, like really diving deep into it, after I had my draft and all. And it is an emotional roller coaster ride. It's fun. It helps you break through barriers. You're happy one minute, you're sad the next, kind of like my characters, But yeah, so like with your characters, like, are you these characters? And I've got several different characters, male characters as well. And then the situations, and people have said to me, like, did this really happen? Is that person really like that? And I had to sit back. This is really funny. I was like, who is that person? Like, where did I pull that person from? And I realized it was one of my ex-husbands.
well,
like,
don't ruin it.
That came in handy.
I was going to ask you if they live, but don't ruin it. So did you find, so did you like write in the mornings, the afternoons? Did you have a word count? Did you have a set space? I mean, what was that process like?
The interesting thing is I'm one of those people that's inspired the later the day is, where a lot of people say, do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And I do morning notes and things like that. But for me, my creativity, whether it's writing or art, has always been late. So that's when I was mostly writing, except for these last 2 months, 3 months, I was writing all day long. But yeah, I did a little exercise on basically like how many words, if I was to flow write, just breathlessly write things, like how many words can I write in an hour? And then I just multiplied it. Well, I need this many words. This is the time I need to take. And I committed to that time. I time blocked and did that, especially towards those last couple of months.
Right. Now, would that be on a given day? Would that be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours?
I would say at least 3 to 4 hours.
Okay. So you're in that headspace for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What the question I'm getting to is, emotionally, did you find that you actually enjoyed going into that headspace, or do you miss it now that you're done writing?
I loved it, especially halfway through when the characters really came alive and felt like they were all around me. It sounds a little crazy, but that's how it was. And I think you can relate to that. It was fun because I never knew where they were going to take me next. And I didn't want to stop writing. So then I had a recorder on my phone, because sometimes I was in bed and put my head down and one of the characters would go, and I'm like, wait a minute, I had to record it. So I just stayed in that creative flow because I knew if I stopped, I'd miss something really good.
Yeah, that's interesting. I find, and you mentioned, it's funny, you mentioned halfway is kind of where it all kicked in. I've written a lot of books in a fairly short amount of time. And the halfway mark is magical for me, because because the first half is work. It's work. When I hit that half, I know my word counts. When I hit that halfway mark, every single time, it's now fun for the other half.
Exactly.
But I do find I'll write. I don't write quite as long as you do. I'll try and hit an hour or two. And I am more in the mornings. Sometimes I'll write all day, whatever. But like in my case, some kind of stuff's going on, and so like I'll write a big chase, and I'm all excited about it. But really, I've just been sitting in the room by myself. Nothing's happened, but I'll be all jazzed. I'll come out, I'll go talk to my wife, like when I tell her something happened, but nothing happened. I sat here on the computer. But it's just psychologically, it's crazy, really, what it does to your head. Now, did you find this therapeutic at all?
I found it very therapeutic when I sat back and read the manuscript full. First of all, it was twice the length I even thought I would write. Okay. I never dreamed it would get up to 70,000 something words.
That's big. That's a big book.
Yeah. But I realized obviously a lot of those parts and pieces in me, and it took me back to my early adulthood with stuff I was dealing with my own father. And I looked at it and I went, wow, holy cow. And towards the end, some of that trigger came up with some of the help I hired. And I went, oh gosh, this is emotional. And yes, I'm still healing here. And it was cathartic.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, so now I'm looking at the cover. Now first off, the book comes out in August, in about a month. Mid-August. But this cover is fantastic. I know people see it. In fact, when they watch us, they will have just seen the cover because I put it at the beginning of these videos. But how did that cover come into existence? It looks like it's part actual picture and then part drawing. I mean, it's really clever. It's really a good cover.
Well, I've had a designer for years. Even though she retired, I begged her, please. And she happens to be an artist. And the funny thing is, this is not her favorite cover, but the feedback has been amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
The cover is basically the opening scene of everything, like of the story. And where she's sitting there writing, she's got a journal. She's reminiscing through this whole story. she's at that cafe in Italy. So the journey began in Italy and it ends in Italy. But in that book, she's got all the different adventures and stuff. And she doesn't know yet, I can't tell you, but she doesn't know yet that at that table, something is going to actually bring a connection that she has longed for 50 something years.
Nice. Beautiful. Look, and I read, I normally I try and read the book. Your book isn't out yet, so I couldn't read it, but I read the description. I noticed that even in the description, it's kind of referencing at the cafe table, which is, so it's I think it's a really clever setup.
Thank you.
So now it comes out in August. Is there anything that you're hoping happens as this book comes out, kind of in your first foray into pseudo fiction?
Well, I've already had some magical things happen. Okay. Yeah. My character, when I was done, said, now you need to do a book tour in Italy. Hey. So I arranged it literally in 48 hours, and people from Italy that I've met on social media, have been inviting me to different things, helping me out. And one actually already set me up speaking at the library writers community.
Oh, wow.
And the book, it's funny because the young version of the character, Lexi, is in a library writing. And she says, and one day my book will be in a library. Wow. But here's the one thing I really want. We know some people are going to like things, they're not going to like things, they're going to critique things. My motive behind all this, if I can inspire one person to have hope and faith in their life, then my job is done.
Okay. So, and is that what someone gets out of reading this? I mean, we talked about the themes and stuff. I mean, it's an uplifting book. I take it. Is that the general?
It is uplifting, but there's also, it's real life.
Right.
Real life. There's fun, there's humor, there's romance. Most of the ladies love the romance. Like, did that really happen in your life right there? Maybe not right there. I had to pull things together.
That's great. All right. Well, would you have any advice for anyone who is trying to put a book like this together? I mean, now I'm going to ask a different question. Hold off on that question. Did you pick this topic as kind of your first fictional book because you thought because there were a lot of memories, it'd be an easy way to step into it? Or was there a strategy behind it? Or is this just the book you've always wanted to write?
It's none of the above.
Okay, good.
The above.
Okay.
I've had people my whole life saying, you have to write a book, because I had a huge tragedy in my life 25 years ago. And I started to write that book and I realized that's not what I wanted to put out there. So I wanted to do something fun and interesting and spiritually uplifting as well, because that's kind of my life. But I didn't even know the name of the title, nothing. I had no idea, but I have a love for Italy. And that's where it all started. Like, why do I have this passion to travel? Because I love to travel. And then I just started thinking about the phenomenal experiences that I've had in places like Peru and Egypt that healed me, through grief and loss and all the mistakes I made in life. So I was just kind of jotting things down, and all of a sudden this character came alive and I went with it. That was it. I just went with it.
So would you have any, and then advice for someone who is like you wants to write a book? How do to get organized, and just anything you'd want to tell them?
Yeah. The thing I always tell people is write, don't edit. Okay. Leave the editing for later, because the creativity flow stops. That's why I'm able to write for so many hours. Now, I don't do that every day, but I do. I mean, I wrote one day 8 hours straight and had 20,000 words. And I'm like, whoa, because I was in flow. And that's something when I'm working with people, like, get in the flow. All right. And then listen to your characters. Listen to them. Don't try to do what you think is perfect. Listen to them, because they know a lot more and they make it interesting. But the thing is, don't give up. Everybody has a message out there. And I find so many people give up because of the judgments and the critique and everything. And I was this close to it too. And I've been writing for 40 years.
Right.
Okay? Because this is new for me. But just, if you have a message out there and it's your passion and you feel like you have to get it out, just do it. Just do it. And if you need support and encouragement, this is what helped me through it. Find that one person who can give you that comforting voice, that inspiration and motivation, that when you want to give up, they're your cheerleader. That was most important for me at the end.
Yeah, I think that's very, very good advice. And I especially listen to the characters, because I heard that a lot before I actually started writing, and I thought it was just stupid. I thought it was dumb, and I started writing. I was like, no, our the way our brains work is these become people, and yes, we can make them do whatever we want, On one hand. On the other hand, our brains want to interact with them in a certain way, and you got to listen to them, and they're going to tell you where the story goes. I mean, you still what I do is I know where I want things to. I know where things have to end up, and I know kind of a few beats I have to hit. So I'll just make sure the characters only have the information to make good decisions, but to follow where I want them to go.
Exactly.
Right? Because they're going to do what they want to do. So the only way I can kind of craft it is, well, you don't know who the bad guy is yet, so you know, whatever or whatever it is. So I think listening to the characters is rock solid.
And this all started because there was a contest a couple of years ago, like about 2 years ago or something. And it was for romance, and I don't write romance. And it was a short story, and they had certain parameters, and you had to write the end of the story. So that's what I did. I just wrote the end of the story, and I gave it to my proofreader, and she loves to read. She's, but I don't like romance. I said, perfect person to read. She got a hold of me the next day and said, you need to write this book. And it was because of her.
Okay.
I did.
Very interesting. Very good. All right. Well, Gloria, stay in touch. And when it comes out, let me know. And if you write a second book, maybe we can have a follow-up conversation.
Well, yeah. My character towards the 2/3 of the book that came into it, she's not shut up in my brain. She's already got the second book going, and I did not have intention of doing another.
I know it's hard. I think that's why a lot of sequels come out, because they got more to say, right?
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, a pleasure talking to you, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks, Gloria.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button.